Okay, let's move on to our next item in the list, radio calibration. uh, this is to get the PWM values between the radio receiver and the flight controller all on the same page. Quickly, a little bit about this. On the output of a pulse width modulated signal is a square wave, basically. And the width of the part of it above 0 varies right to left in microseconds. In the case of this throttle right here, from 987 microseconds at the bottom, if you go up towards the top, it'll be towards 2000 microseconds. It's a longer duration of time that signal is high, 5 volts, rather than 0. And as that trailing edge on that signal moves between 987 and 210, the servo follows it. That's how this works. I'm not going to get deeper than that, but that's just assume that's the way it works. It is the crux of how it works. So those numbers need to coincide. The numbers that the radio puts out, numbers that the receiver receives, and the numbers that the receiver sends to the flight controller. So we do that right here with this function. Let's see. Okay. I'm just making sure I had some input there. And the way this works, on your radio, I set up the first 4, of course, going to be your control sticks. But then all these switches you see all over all these radios, you set them up. I set those up in my mix to have a function. If you come over here, just shouldn't get this deep. And you look. Get that where it can be seen. Kind of hard. I set up 11 channels on this radio and assigned, this radio will do 32 channels. I assigned a switch up here someplace to those channels. Now my 12th channel is going to be link quality, so I didn't set up anything for that. These switches can be changed around later to a different switch, etc., etc., etc. This is just basic setup. This is so that the PWM values of this radio will be sent to the flight controller to store them away so it can do its thing. So up here on the screen, I'll try to do this at the same time. About right there should be a good place to hold that radio, eh? So you can see the switches too. The way this is done, I'll pick that back up in a second, is here on the screen you click Calibrate Radio. Ensure your transmitter is on, the receiver is powered and connected. Ensure your motor does not have power, no props. Okay. Click OK and move all sticks and switches to their extreme position so the red bar hits their limits. Okay, now as soon as I click OK here, I'm going to start doing that. So, OK. This isn't time limited. You can take your time here. This doesn't stop until you tell it you're finished. So I don't know why, but I always take my stick to the right first. All the way to the right, all the way to the top, all the way to the left on those 4. You can sort of see what it's doing on this the screen. And then I'm just going to go through these switches. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, And for 11, I'm using these 6 buttons here, so I'll just hit the one furthest out. Oops, must have not. There's 7. Somehow I knocked 7 and 5 off there. And you don't have to leave these at their high positions. You can knock them all back down now. It doesn't matter where they are now. You see all those red lines on the screen? That is there's red lines. Let me use my mouse here. There's red lines right here for the lowest value for that channel. And there's a red line right here for the highest value for that particular channel. High value, high value, high value. Now that they're in there, you click done. Sure all your sticks are centered and throttle is down. It's for those of you who just refuse to take those props off. Click OK. Here's the list it's going to save. Radio's pretty consistent. It's the same in everything except for channel 11. Oh, that's those 6 switches. Those are different than a regular switch. Those are those push button switches. So, it's 1 microsecond different. Who cares? Doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is define what they are so that the radio, the receiver, and the flight controller all agree that these numbers are the high and low values on all those channels. Click OK. That's all there is to radio calibration. Now you see these reverse, 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 reverse for these first 4 channels and all this is down here. Try not to touch those. There may be a time when you have to, but don't do it for your setup. Go ahead and let it do what it thinks it should do. So there's that. Put a big check mark right here. That's finished.